All right, y'all. Welcome to another show, A Real Talk with Tula Kabone. And I appreciate that I am here to talk with you today. And you know what I always say, if you hear the sound of my voice, that means God has blessed you to see another day and hear. So let's get an amen.
Amen.
I'm going to get an amen. And you know I'm going to greet you in the tongue of Swahili, Habari Gani, and the response would be Nzuri. And by now, y'all should know that now. Come on now. Habari Gani and Nzuri. So, you know, I just want to have a conversation today. And the topic is, you know, what it is. Do America really want to stop racism? Are African Americans treated like actual citizens? And the reason what really struck me is when I heard a lot of people understand there's a lot of protests going on with Gaza right now, with the students on college campuses, and they're camping out now, saying, you know, pull your money away from supporting Israel, or divest, I think that's what they call it, from Israel, you know. And so what the Jewish students are claiming, and I'm not saying it's not happening, is that some of them feel harassed and out the way. And how they try to present the topic as if the students who are protesting are somehow manufacturing a falsehood, when really that's not the case at all. You done had over 34,000 people that's been killed in Palestine. Now, I think we all can condemn death as it is. You know, October the 7th, 2023, what happened to the Jewish population in Israel, of course that's horrible. But what a lot of people are complaining about is the disproportionate treatment that's going on in Palestine with 34,000 people. So some of the students feel like the government isn't listening, so they're protesting. So on April the 22nd, 2024, you have 4 or 5 congressmen go, and they toured Columbia University. And it was something that one of the congressmen said that really stood out to me. He said if this was any other minority group, right, because he's Jewish, and he's saying that the Jewish students are being harassed, they would have stopped it immediately. And his claim is that the Jews get treated worse than anybody. I had to take a deep breath on that, because that is simply not true. And I'm not saying, hold on, let me say this up front. I'm not saying that the Holocaust was not horrible. Of course it was. Any type of human suffrage, whether it be Holocaust or any type of atrocities, and I have to reiterate that, because sometimes words are taken out of content in order to promote an agenda, and that's not what I'm saying. But to say that the Jewish students are treated worse than any other minority that's there, or somehow that if it was another minority, all of a sudden it would have been assistance. That's not true at all. Black people know that is not true, period. That is not true. The treatment we have been subjected to in America. You know, so when people say stuff, right, sometimes you have to remind them of history. Because some people have what I call historical amnesia when it's convenient. When it's convenient, I got historical amnesia. So let's do just a little history. 1619, the first Africans was human trafficked from Africa to America. It's estimated, they call it the Middle Passage, that over 6 million people died on the Middle Passage. And if you look at the pictures of how we was huddled together in ships, it was horrific. So from 1619 to so-called 1863, my ancestors were enslaved in America. And let me tell you, so let me give a little history on that. While they were enslaved, they were not allowed to vote. They had no right to protect themselves. They had no right to testify. They had no right to determine where their family would go. Their children can be sold at will. The black women was raped. So was the black men. They had something called buck breaking, right? Where they will rape black men in front of a crowd of people who they felt was the strongest man. We already know black women was raped at will, right? When a black woman had a baby, the baby was considered the slave owners. Not hers, the slave owners. And the baby was sold into slavery. They had black men, they labored them, they called them studs. And what a stud was an individual that would go around and they would intentionally have him have sex with numerous women for the sole purpose of getting them pregnant so they could build their human stock up and sell the babies. And if a slave became rebellious, they sold him to another plantation owner, right? And they would split his family up. The slave owner could just get up and say, okay, I'm selling all your children. That's what they did. Now, this is a fact. This is a fact. Some black women, they would cut them, tab them, and cut the baby off so they fall on the ground. They would call all the slaves together. I want y'all to understand what we went through. They would call all the slaves together, and they would take a pregnant black woman and cut the baby, and the baby would fall on the ground. Or they would take a black man, tie him up with 2 horses, hit the horse, and they would split him up. This is facts. Or they would lynch him. This is facts. They got a movie called 12 Years a Slave. Check that movie out. It'll probably blow your mind what really happened. Well, a few things of what really happened. Django, where they got 2 black men that was fighting each other while the slave owner sit there and look and drink tea and talking, and the brother beat the hell out of the brother. And once he did, the slave owner said to him, "Oh, good job." And he told a black woman, "Now entertain him." And they gave him a beer and he was happy. So let's keep going. So I got, they always say you got to have receipts. So I got facts here. I put on the glasses. Appreciate that. I like to deal with facts. So let me hold the paper up so we can see. I don't want nobody saying this is false information. This is about when slave owners got reparations, is the title of it. And you can YouTube this yourself. On April the 16th, 1862, now I knew this, President Abraham Lincoln signed a bill emancipating enslaved people in Washington, the end of a long struggle. But to ease slave owners' pain, I want y'all to hear this, listen. But to ease slave owners' pain, the District of Columbia Emancipation Act paid those loyal to the Union up to $300 for every enslaved person free. Now, I want y'all to hear this. He gave money to slave owners to ease their pain. Never money to the slave. A lot of people don't even know this. Right, they trip out when I hit them with the facts. Then they go Google and say, "Oh yeah, he really did that." So it was an argument. William Lloyd Garrison at this particular time was a white abolitionist, and he challenged Abraham Lincoln. He said, "Why are you giving money to slave owners and not the slaves?" It makes sense to me. So $300 back then equals amount to $9,000 per person today. Right? Another fact, people give people make a false statement about Abraham Lincoln that somehow he woke up and he had a come to Jesus moment and said, okay, yeah, I just want to free the slaves. And that's not what happened. Right? And again, you could fact check this too. Abraham Lincoln told the South, hey, you can keep, because the South interest at that time was to keep slavery. He said, hey, listen, you can keep the slaves. I just don't want you to separate from the Union. Because the South was like, man, we want to do our own thing. And, they had elected their own president. They was doing all that, right? Facts. So when they said, no, we're going to separate from the Union, that's what the war was about. The war was never about slavery. Slavery just so happened to be put in a pot in the midst of all that. But it wasn't about slavery in the initial stage. It was not. He just didn't want them to separate from the Union. Now, what if they wouldn't have separated from the Union? Where would black people be at now? And that's something to really think about. In 1850, the United States passed what they call the Fugitive Slave Act. This is a fact. The Fugitive Slave Act was that any person would compromise. So let me say this. They compromised with the northern politicians, compromised with the southern politicians in 1850. And the southern slave owners was upset because the slaves was running to free states and they were living. So they had some type of compromise in 1850. It's called the Fugitive Slave Act. And what they said was, okay, we'll pass the act. And what happened then is when a free slave went to a free state, a slave escaped to a free state, the United States government, listen to my word, the United States government sent out people to get that person and take them back to their slave owner. Right? Did you hear me? 1850 Fugitive Slave Act. The United States government sent out people that worked for them to go find a slave if the slave was in a free state and return that slave to slavery. Now I just gave y'all a few facts. We're going to keep going, but I just gave you a few facts. Now tell me what other culture in this world was subjected to just that small stuff like that. Just that small stuff. We talking about from 1619 to so-called 1863. Because after the so-called slaves were free, we still was getting bondage. Right? So let's talk about that. Let's keep going. Prior to the freeing of the slaves, the prison population in America was really dwindled down to like nothing. Because the slave owners had their slaves on their plantation working. And they dealt with their slaves like they wanted to. They could kill them, they could beat them, they could rape them, they could do, because they were considered property. That's it. Our last names, so let's even go there. Black people last name came from slave owners. Each black person that you see that's African American, last name came from a slave owner, denoting ownership. Whenever they bought a slave, if Mr. Brown bought you, you was Kelly Brown. They renamed you completely to erase any type of cultural connection to Africa. So they say, okay, her name is Kelly and last name Brown. That's how it went. So, when people ask me if we get reparations, how you can tell if black people were slaves, and how they get their last name. They ain't got no Kelly Browns in Africa. That's how they can find out. But these are facts. Name any other people that went through some form of slavery or human atrocity that has the slave owner's last name even till this day. Name them. Nobody can give me that information, period. Name any other people that when their ancestors attempted to promote their culture, like Marcus Garvey did, and the government sent up and interfered and stopped all that, sent a spy in there, a black man. That's what they did. Matter of fact, it was the first black man. Well, let me back up before I jump to Garvey. So when the slaves were so-called free, the slave owners got upset because now they didn't have nobody to man the plantations. So what the South and what they decided to do was they said, okay, we're going to pass laws now. We're going to pass the laws that if we catch somebody called loitering, if you were standing around, they arrested you, and when they put you in jail, they rented you out to the slave owner. So you went back to the slave owner, or they forced you to sign a contract where you would do what they call, where they would have you work on the plantation, sharecropping. That's what it's called, sharecropping. That was the name of it. I mean, let's talk about that. So they would have you sharecrop. That means that you would go on to the plantation, and then you would take and you would do the crops. And once the slave owner supposedly got his money, he will give you your money. And that was the deception. Because what happened when the black person went to get their money, he started naming all the stuff he gave you. Well, you remember I gave you this added up. So really, and so what some slave owners did, now this is really gonna blow people's mind. In the South, what they did was, particularly in Mississippi, the southern states, they reinstituted slavery. They got a movie out called Alex with Common and Keke Palmer in it. And it was in 1972. This is a true movie. In Georgia, they had them black people thinking all the way to 1972 they were still enslaved. And how they got them like that, they took them and trapped them back on a plantation, and they forced them to stay there and work for free, and they reinstituted slavery, and the government did nothing. I think I had read something. They got something called on YouTube. You can look up this black lady called the Slave Investigator, and she did stories on how they had black people enslaved after 1863, even in the 1900s, and I think it was in 1930-something, the NAACP wrote a letter to our Attorney General, and what me say, the United States Attorney General, complaining about that they had black people still in slavery in the South. And do you think they said not a word? So these are facts. You know what I'm saying? So when I hear people on there screaming about we get treated worse than no, you don't. Stop. You don't, right? Because none of the stuff I've named you have been subjected to. None of it. None of the stuff I have named have you been subjected to as a people. Period. Now let's go there. Let's go back to after the so-called slavery was free. After that, they opened a prison system up, and they start incarcerating. This is really the first big incarceration of black men after so-called slavery, because they needed the slave labor. So they would go in and arrest black men under false pretenses and rent them back out to the plantations. That's fact. Now, they got a movie called The 14th Amendment that's on Netflix. Check that out. It got more information on how in detail that was the first prison boom. First prison boom in America after so-called slavery, we was free. So let's go. Then we had Jim Crow, right? You had Jim Crow. Jim Crow came about. Well, it was a white man that was, first of all, he was a white man that was dressing up like black people, acting like a buffoon. So then from there, you had Jim Crow. They created laws. It called it separate but equal. If you can't get equal, staying with somebody, you definitely ain't finna be separate and get treated better. You know what I'm saying? Come on, man. I appreciate the head clap. Because then, listen, they didn't even want us to read. They was underfunding our school system and all that. And which that still exists. We got Jim Crow today in a different name by our own people, but don't let me start talking about that. But anyway, absolutely, they created Jim Crow. Except that you had to go to the black bathroom, the white bathroom was over here. That is buffoonery. So tell me what any other race of people who had to go through that. Because let me tell you how it go. If your skin was white and you was from Poland, wherever you was from, Israel, wherever you was from, and you was white back then, you was allowed to use the white facilities. And I didn't see anybody protesting and saying, now what, there's the people who rode down south on the buses, so let me be clear about that. As far as the treatment in general, nobody was really sticking up and saying, well, and we talking about in droves, mean a majority of white people did not stick up and say, well, you know what, I think what you're doing is wrong, and I'm just going to boycott, I'm going to go in through the black door. No, they went right through the white door, and they went there and ate their food, right? Well, they was, so, when I hear people, make this, because they upset now, they're upset. Because now you feeling the pain of the new Negro. What we've been feeling for years, now you feeling it, and you feel like, oh, I can't believe this is happening to me. Oh, it's happening. It's happening, but it's happening because of what's going on over there. So the stuff that happened to black people, black Americans, we did not solicit that type of treatment. We were simply mistreated because of something we could not change, and that was our skin color, period. I can't hide that I'm black. But you can shut your mouth. They won't even know you're a Jew. They won't even know you from South Africa. They won't know you from Poland. All you got to do is blend right in, and they're going to say you're white skin, white privilege, and white privilege meaning, and let me break that down for somebody to have a fit about that. White privilege means that the fact that you're white, you are inherently entitled to certain benefits in America that other people may not get the privilege to have. In other words, you don't have to worry about when the police pull you over, they see you're white, they just check your ID and say, okay, go ahead, they give you a warning. Black people, we got dogs, they wonder what you got. I smell a beer can, who is there hiding under the seat? Man in the back, so, and now that when it comes to jobs, if you're white. White privilege, they look at you and say, okay, well, yeah, you got the job, even though the black person's more qualified. Let's go even further. Yeah, let's talk about white privilege again. Affirmative action. Let's have that conversation. Affirmative action was created in the 1960s, right, under Lyndon B. Johnson administration. Affirmative action primary objective was to correct the wrongs of what happened with black people and to give us an upper hand in being treated fairly in government jobs and the school system, right? So in the 1970s, the United States government decided to add white women onto affirmative action. They're going to say, hey, we going to put women under affirmative action. We're going to put Chinese, we're going to put men, we're going to put everybody under affirmative action. That really happened, right? So, and I think it was last year or the year before, last year because I did a show on it. United States government decided, it was last year. United States government said, hey, man, you know what? The United States Supreme Court, hey, we're going to abolish affirmative action. Affirmative action is we think is discriminatory, and we feel America's colorblind. Even though they choked George Floyd out, they kept killing black men, but, people colorblind when they want to be when it benefits them. So, and then when they did the statistics on affirmative action, white women benefited from affirmative action more than black people did. This is a fact. You see all these white women in sports now. They in the news. You don't see, they'll get a few sisters up there because the black woman count is two minorities. And let me tell you on the affirmative action how it works. If she black, that's one, and she's a woman, that's two. Black man is the same thing, but they don't want brothers to get in position. They don't want us to take care of family, so they try to make us look weak, and stuff like that. So the white woman, statistically, has benefited more from affirmative action than any other race or any other persons on the planet in America. That's a fact. This is statistically true. So let's go even further. Then I learned about, now this, I want y'all to clearly understand, the case was brought from Harvard University by Chinese students. Right, that it was a conservative that goaded them to file a lawsuit about affirmative action at Harvard University. And Chinese students benefited from it also, right? Y'all came here, we done built America, everybody moving the house, and now you telling us get out the way, we finna take the crumbs, y'all gonna eat the crumb while we eat the meat. So that's how it went. So what happened, I learned about something called legacy. And what legacy is, this is the white version of affirmative action. And unequivocally, I say this. What legacy is, if your parent went to a particular school, or if your parent worked at a particular school, then you got a leg up as far as going to that school. In all probability, you would get in that school based on legacy. So then they begin to get the statistics out of how many white students got in Harvard. I think it was Harvard, if I'm correct. I could be wrong. In the school that challenged affirmative action. And a great deal of the white students that was in that school was there based on legacy. So it's affirmative action. So white folks got affirmative action in the form of legacy. Because we know a lot of black people, unfortunately, we're locked out of school. We go to school, they give us hell. I know because it happened to me, right? But so you got affirmative action in legacy, but you tell us we can't have affirmative action. And not only that, let's go in for them to the United States Supreme Court rule. A lot of people don't know this as well. The military said we need affirmative action. In order to keep our army or our military diverse, we need you to keep affirmative action for the military. And United States Supreme Court said, okay, no problem. We'll keep it for the military, but we're going to kill it for everybody else. So my thing is, that's almost like an oxymoron, opposite of what you're saying, but you still do it, right? You have affirmative action for the military, but you don't have it for everybody else who we know African Americans are discriminated against in college school system. But you got legacy. Now eliminate legacy. How many white people going to be going to college? I want y'all to really think about, we talking about from the merit. We talking about on the I was in school, I seen them cheat. I seen professors give them an upper hand in school. One girl, they passed her, she missed 3 weeks of school, and the teacher failed me. When I called her, I said, the girl was like, what, they failed you? You the one who knew all the answers in the class. I took the class the following semester and came out with a B+. I didn't give up. You thought that was going to kill my energy? You must not know my history, right? I went back to school and did good, but I've seen, thank you, I appreciate that, right? Because I vibe with strong ancestors, right? So I done seen the discrimination in college school systems, right? And only time they really value, right? And which is, to me, is another form. And let me say this. Okay, so let's look at this. What other race have been denied the opportunity to be educated outside of black people? I'm trying to hear this. What other race have been denied the opportunity to be educated as a systematic structure, meaning that we're not going to allow black people in our school? This was an accepted practice in America based on our skin color. Something we couldn't hide. We can't walk to the door and change our hair and our eye style and we look totally different. That wasn't happening. So when we walk up, they see black. What other race did that happen to? Nobody but black. Even to this day, we still dealing with school disparities. Detroit, the reading rate of black children in the school system is horrible. They said over 50% of the black students in Detroit cannot read at a proficient rate. That means read at the grade level they're in. So what do you think you're making, black men? You're making future criminals. Because if you can't read, you can't write, you can't make money, you become what? You become a hustler. Facts. So let's, where they doing that at? Show me any urban area in America, and a great majority of those school systems are failing. Why is that? If it's not a systematic structure to do that. When you go 5 miles outside of that into a suburban school, everybody's doing great. You tell me what the problem is. It can't be, is it the teachers don't care, or they're not intentionally not providing the adequate supplies, or they putting people in there who's stealing from the black students, period. And that sometimes means all black skin don't mean all black in. Let me say it again. All black skin don't mean all black in. We got some of our people, man, come on, man. They done assimilate America. They do a Candace on so quick. Then they get introduced to the Proud Boys. Now you want to run back to the hood. Welcome to my hood, huh? So now let's go. And I was talking about how black men are exploited in college sports. Now, Nick Saban, the coach of the Alabama football team. Everybody know who Nick Saban is. Always had great teams, great score. He went and testified, and so I think it was last year or the year before, they said that college players now get paid for their image and likeness. So you tell me if this ain't slavery. What the colleges have been doing, they have the college players play for them, get them a free scholarship. They will make all that money off their jerseys and wouldn't give them a penny. So when the guy get done, if he didn't make the pros, now they're going to say, well, we'll get you a job here or you get a job there. But you done made all this money off my athleticism. So the Supreme Court said, nah, they can get money. Nick Saban got upset about it and went testify before Congress. Talking about he don't understand that the program that changed, and Roland Martin did a whole story on it. So go to Roland Martin, Google Roland Martin talking about Nick Saban, you'll find it. But he did a whole story on it. So come to find out that Nick Saban was getting paid. Listen, I want y'all to hear this because somebody finna fall off the seat. $12 million a year of them black athletes. Listen. $12 million a year as a coach. And he owned car dealerships, Mercedes-Benz car dealerships. So let me understand this, Nick Saban. You should be the only one that get money and everybody else supposed to just work for you. To me, that sounds like slavery. That sounds like modern day. Can you imagine? I want you imagine a black man taking a bunch of white college students who can swim well, and you got fill the stadium with a whole lot of black and don't get them a penny. And he's making 12 million. They will go on a revolt. That'll never happen. So Nick Saban, and so the college students now, the brothers who's playing sports, they want to get paid for their image of life, and the coaches are mad about it. But Nick Saban, they say you was paying, it's alleged, let me say that, put the word out there, alleged, I don't want to get sued, alleged that you was paying students anyway under the table. So now everybody caught up with the game, you upset. Roland Martin said that. But black men should have been getting paid for sports. It's another, sometimes we don't know when to fight. Long as they put a camera in our face and give us some food, they make us feel special. And when it's done, they tell you, now you get out the door, slavery's over. 4 years up, now you in trouble. We got to understand, man, you got to demand it. Why is the iron is hot? Start telling them, hey, man, no, you got to pay me, family. You want me to go run that court? Okay, well, we got to eat. You know, and now they doing that, but they're upset about it. But if it's not slavery, you shouldn't have a problem with paying them. The NCAA make over $1 billion a year. But it's slavery. I look at these brothers. Man, when they playing sports. I mean, they play 100%. Ain't nobody there to see the coaches. Who there to see the coaches? They there to see the athletes. Them brothers deserve that. They come from poverty-stricken families who is dependent, and a majority of them brothers won't even make the NBA, period. Very few of them even make the NBA. So the money they make in college, they can reinvest and at least start a business to have some type of financial stability once they get through being pimped by the school system, period. So, I mean, I'm trying to figure out where's the equality in, what is wrong with that type of equality if you don't have a slave on the state of mind? If, again, you don't have a slave on the state of mind, because you don't want nobody doing that to your children. You don't want nobody doing that to your daughter. You don't want nobody doing that to your son. You ain't working for free. Nick Saban, $12 million. You could have gave the athletes $1 million out of that. No, not you. You pocket it all and look at the athletes and laugh with them. He said, listen, I got to tell you, this, man, I could have chuckled at this. This really remind me of a slave owner. And I'm going to say it unequivocally. I can say that. You know, we got black radio popping off. Nick Saban said, yeah, every weekend, me and my wife used to invite the parents of the athletes over. And my wife assured them she was going to take care of them boys. She's going to take care of them. And the parents start asking my wife, well, how much are you going to give my son? So he said, my wife came to me and said, I don't think we should do this no more, because all they care about is the money. Oh, yeah, they should. They son out there run up and down the court, and you getting $12 million a year. And why do you need his wife? Why do you need your wife to take care of them? Before they got there, their mama must have did a good job, or whomever was taking care of them. So don't act like you the mammy. Now, you mammy. I'll take care of them. But stop. They don't need you for that. And you get mad because they want money and your wife got mad. Y'all own a Mercedes-Benz and you getting $12 million a year. What happened, Nick said, you start losing because a lot of the athletes transferred out and realized they had better opportunities for money. Them guys ain't wrong for chasing money. Every time we even a playing field, they change the rules or they complain about the rules that's already been in play. Period. It's always a problem when black people say, okay, man, listen, we won. So, and then now they coming up with new rules and figure out how to change it. And we can't do that. Or they won't follow the rule. Or they say, okay, well, we being defiant. We're not going to. But you want to enforce the law on me by something I'm doing, but you don't want to follow the rules that you're supposed to follow that the courts implemented, right? So, I mean, and so when I go back and think about this, what other race of people have been exploited for over 300 or 400 years on a consistent basis outside of black people? We talking about black America. Even in Africa, they killing Africa. My people in Sudan, they killing them over there. How you think? How did Uzis get in Africa? But anyway, let me stay focused. But I'm just saying, that's something we got to think about, man. When people try to minimize black pain, oh, no, I can't let you do that because you still ain't give us reparations. Let's have the conversation. 1988, Congress voted and gave Japanese Americans reparations for what happened to them in 1942 during Pearl Harbor. Because after Pearl Harbor happened, the United States created what they call concentration camps, and they started putting Japanese Americans on concentration camps. Literally, they did this. 1980, the Japanese Americans came together, and they started drafting up a bill. In 1988, Ronald Reagan signed the bill and gave, Japanese Americans reparations. They gave each family $20,000. That's a fact. You know how much reparation they gave us? 0. And the first thing they say, oh, that's old. Oh, it's old. Oh, okay. The pain ain't old. And what I say to them, I say, well, that's fine. You feel that way. Why don't you come work for me for 5 years for free? And I have complete autonomy over you, and you can't say nothing about how, oh, I don't want to do that. I said, well, why don't y'all return the things that African Americans built, starting with the so-called whiteout? Oh, we don't want to. So you want to have it both ways. And if you are a so-called Christian, you should have some type of repentance in your heart to correct the wrong. Like, there is no way possible you can feasibly think that you can enslave a people for 300 and some years, and you say, yeah, go ahead. We ain't going to give y'all nothing to work with. In fact, we're going to give slave owners some money. We ain't going to give you no money. We're going to get money to slave owners. But we're going to let y'all go, and you figure out the word from there. Are you for real? How do that work in a realistic society? And for you to think that we don't deserve reparations, are you for real, man? We definitely deserve reparations for slavery. If you so-called walking in the light of Jesus, now if you want to walk in the light of Hebrews, meaning you made it up, you can do what you want to say. That's why when people tell me that they're Christians, right? They tell me that they're Christians and they're not doing the Christian thing. I look at you, particularly those who are racist. Because for the last thing I knew, let's have a conversation. Michelangelo painted a picture of Jesus Christ that was not legitimate. I said it. It's a fact. He did that. Leonardo da Vinci painted a picture of Jesus that was not legitimate. That's a fact. I said that too. So when we look at the images of Jesus, we got to go back to Revelations. Hair of wool, iron, fires, and scales of bronze. That don't sound like what I'm looking at today. Period. So now when we start claiming that, now all of a sudden now, we the problem. Sorry. We the problem. We the problem. So, and the reason I'm saying is because if we are, and as the board said, are African American treated like citizens, if we are a citizen of America, then we should be treated a lot better than what we're treated. Period. Let me say this. Follow me on this. When people become so-called, what they call legitimate immigrants in America, how many of them got to become a part of a voting rule, or they got to pass a law so they can vote? None of them. That's not black. Have there ever been a law created for white people to vote? No. Have there ever been a constitutional right created so white people can have the right to sue in court? No. Have there ever been a law created so white people can have the opportunity to be respected like human beings and not discriminated against? No, not the white man. The white woman, okay, you got affirmative action. You know, they create that for you. But I'm just saying in general, you don't hear white people say, well, if they don't pass the voting rules, we won't have a vote. You know, every time when I hear, well, listen, it makes me cringe that we really believe that if they don't pass a voting right law, that we can't vote. Why can't we vote? Why can't we do what everybody else doing if we are really American citizens? If they decide to kill a voting rule right now, what are we going to do, stay at home and argue? Or are we going to go to the polls? If I am an American citizen, then I should get treated the same. The only way that you treat me different, if you look at me as a second-class citizen, as Malcolm X so eloquently stated, if I am a second-class citizen, then say that. That's like you telling your child you love them, but you beat them every chance you get, but you treat the other children different. At some point, the child gonna call you a liar. They're gonna say, oh man, I can't wait to get 18 to get up. Matter of fact, they leaving at 14. I'm out of here. Packing the bags, say, I'll figure it out, right? Because, and then you see them later on, well, you know I really love me. Do you really forgot what you, when America was first created, there was 13 presidents that owned slaves. I want y'all to hear me. There was 13 presidents who owned slaves when America's so-called Constitution and the Bill of Rights and all that was put together. George Washington was one of them. George Washington took his slaves to the so-called White House. And what George Washington would do, this is gruesome, so hold your ears. When he was getting his dentures made or whatever, he would have them snatch the teeth out of slaves and put it in his dentures. Fact. Let's have a talk about Thomas Jefferson. They always talk about, oh, Thomas Jefferson. Was it Vic Ramaswamy, the guy who was running for president of the United States on the Republican Party ticket, touted that Thomas Jefferson was one of his greatest, that he was a great guy to me, and I don't care what black people think, but Thomas Jefferson was sleeping with Sally Hemings when she was 14 years old. He had 6 kids, 6 children with her. She was a teenager. Facts. How can you have a legitimate relationship with somebody that you got enslaved and you can rape them at will? Hold on. That's called rape, right? I'm just trying to make this make sense to me. Thomas Jefferson did that. Everybody know about Thomas Jefferson, Sally Hemings. Can you imagine if Uncle Tom Cabin, the black guy, they sitting on Harry Beach Stowe book, talking about Uncle Tom Cabin, had a relationship with that little white girl? You think they gonna really have his name on street signs and call him a hero? They gonna say, what? Nah, we ain't doing that. But because when they come at me, I said, what about Thomas Jefferson? Let's slow down. Now, don't have me tell black people start taking DNA tests to find out if they kin to all these white folks that got their same last name, because that means now you can tap into the family legacy. Don't have me do that. That's a fact. Thomas Jefferson did it. You know, so you asking me, that's equivalent to you asking a Jewish person, my Jewish brothers and sisters, there was 13 Nazis that created a country, and you say, well, we want y'all to respect. They would never do that. But you want us to say, oh yeah, no problem. We really respect and love. We ain't gonna give y'all reparations, but yeah, you know, we love when I hear the Republicans say something about the founding fathers, I cringe. Because the founding fathers disrespected black people. When the Constitution was written, they did not have black people in mind. If they was, they would have freed them in 1776. They would have freed us and not create Fugitive Slave Law Acts in 1850. Period. So don't come telling me, man, when, we start not raising to the flag and, well, I don't understand why you understand why I'm not patriotic. Are you for real? Do you really know black history? You should be saying to me, hey, I have empathy and I understand why we are the only people that's not allowed to get mad about our history. Let me say that again. We are the only people that's condemned about getting mad for our history. Everybody else, they'll go all the way back to Kingdom Come. And they embrace that. They teach in school. Some people even go with the Confederate soldiers. The Confederate soldiers, they got chapters on them. But soon as you talk about, that's reverse racism. That happened a long time ago. Well, I said, well, the Confederate soldiers did too. You're still talking about them. In fact, some of you still find the flag. But when I talk about black people, I'm wrong for talking about, I'm not wrong. I'm not. And then I was he listened to the minister today, and he said something that was deep. He said, every time we try to establish something for us to make us better, because I'm a firm believer. that we can't ask somebody to do something that we could do for ourselves in changing our condition, period. Now, there's stuff we could do in the hood to, instead of get mad at the government for not picking paper up in your neighborhood, pick the paper up yourself, period. If they don't want to cut the grass yourself. The children got to play in the park. You know, if you know somebody needs some food, stop trying to go and get mad at the food bank. Everybody in the hood chip in something. All y'all got bridge cards. Take the bridge cards and buy them something to eat. So I think on a collective level, we can do that, right? So, but the minister said that every time we try to, like they got Greek town, they got Mexican town, now they got Bengali town in Hamtramck. Now, when they want to do African town, black people stopped it. What is wrong with an African town? We're black. We don't have an idea. What? I mean, I got a question. Does America treat us like American citizens? No, bro, we don't. We don't. We still, the black man still haunted. The sisters are used against us. They give a black woman a job in a minute and then encourage her not to even connect with the black man. And if she do connect with a black man, they want him to be feminized. Period. This is real. They want him to be identified with the LGBTQ and don't want to put a straightforward heterosexual male up there to be some type of image for black men, but they got that for white men. When I look at politics on TV, all I see is, what I see on TV is white men talking about politics. And I said to myself, well, what about black men? Why isn't there black men and they have white women on there, but no black men? And if you think I'm lying, look at MSNBC and NBC. CNN, look at the main news station, Fox News. And if they got a brother on Fox News, he's a first-class bootlicker. He's it. But what happened, and if you go back to the 70s, it's a different thing back in the 70s how it was. You know what I'm saying? So we got to understand, man, you know, we have to be a defender of our people. We have an obligation to our ancestors. And I want y'all to hear me. Every one of we all know somebody done passed in our family that we dearly got love and respect for. A lot of our poverty was created by our ancestors being enslaved. Don't let them think that you lazy. Sure, we can do better, but there's obstacles always put in our way. We're not giving a fair. Even when they came out with the PUA loans, black people didn't get none of that money. When they go to the bank told them, oh, that money's already gone. I know black owners who it happened to. When they went to the bank, they told them and they went a day after it was announced because they already had the game sold up. Then come to find out Congress people like Marjorie Taylor Greene got a loan from PUA and she's in Congress. That's how the game really is. So we always are. But the thing is, and I'm saying this to anybody who faces, you can't let obstacles defeat you. You can't give up and you know, ain't no excuses for failure except you failed yourself. Like me, I'll fight against the odds. You can tell me, you can put a wall up. I'm going to try to figure out how to get over the wall, get under the wall, crawl under the wall. It might take me a minute, but I'm going to fit. But because you can't stop what God has blessed. Let me say it again. You can't stop what God has blessed, period. And black people is not, we're not going nowhere, right? So stop, you know, I tell racist white people, you know, and I'm not talking about white friends, because I have white friends. Let me be clear about that. And I'm not talking about the white people who not racist. I'm talking about the white people racist. I said, it's not like you don't be witch, close your eyes, and I'm going to disappear. We gonna be here. So why not give us equal opportunity and respect? That's my question. Why not treat us with the same respect that we deserve? That's all. Treat us with respect. We deserve better. That's it. That's all I'm saying. Period. We deserve better. Period. Now, I enjoyed the opportunity today. I got 10 more minutes. She already raised her hand and told me. But the lesson today, man, is that we got to learn how to defend our position as a people. And you have to be well read in history. When you hear people making misstatements, don't cow down and buck dance. You challenge them on them falsehoods. And if something is true, then embrace that. You know, what's going on in Gaza is horrible. They killed 34,000 people. They're literally destroying them people. Now, on college campuses, the students are protesting. Let's give history on that. The Black Panthers started on a college campus in California. The Black Panthers was under the age of 23 when they started, but them brothers was well read. And they was tired of the conditions that black people were subjected to. The Black Panthers started the first free clinic. The Black Panthers started the first free breakfast program. The Black Panthers had Evans Cleaver, who ran for president in 1968. A lot of people didn't even know that. Yeah, Evans Cleaver ran for president. And the reason I'm saying that, because that's the mindset of studying that we need to get back to. Now we see 21, 22-year-old brothers, we don't even look at them as big. We'll say he's still young. Back then you weren't saying that to them brothers, a nation, because they were serious about changing the condition of their people. And we can do the same thing, but we have to encourage these brothers to read and to look at the right things when they're trying to better themselves, period. We have to do that, man. We can't continue. Listen, if you're a grown man, I don't give you a pass, family. You got children, I don't give you a pass, family. If you're a man, you're supposed to be a producer. I don't care if you got to pick up cans, pick up bottles. I call Michigan the land of milk and honey. If you come in Michigan, you can make money, man. In the city of Detroit, you can find ways to, even if you got to catch the bus for a minute, you got to work. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do, what you don't want to do, in order to do the right thing, to have the right thing. But it's about what you spend your money on. Some of us get money. I had a program on that. We've been taught to be consumers and not savers. Their brothers that take their last check to get them brand new Jordans, and for what? Then you calling somebody telling me, can I get some bus fare? No, you can't get no bus fare from me. No, because I'm going to give you a speech and say, okay, you get it one time, and that's it. But we got to do better. You know better, you do better. You know better, you do better. But my conversation today was serious. And what I'm saying is this. Stop people from saying that we, as if our pain is somehow not worse than anybody else. I gave several scenarios today of the Black Holocaust. Listen what I said. I got a shirt made, I should have wore it today, that the Black Holocaust started in America in 1619. And we still dealing with the Black Holocaust today. Listen, black people have an inherent tension. When the police pull behind us, we inherently get scared, right? We get nervous. I don't care who you are. This is facts. We get nervous. We don't know what's going to happen. If we go in the store, they follow us, particularly if we go in the suburbs. We don't know what's going on, right? Because that comes from us being mistreated and seeing our ancestors mistreated. So until you really get treated, and when I hear black people say, well, they treat me like an American citizen, you know what I tell them? Particularly the conservative black, because they really cry that. They say that. I said, why don't you go try to hang out with the Proud Boys and see how they go? Why they got Confederate flags sitting on the table. And go in and say, what's up, bro? See how that go. Tell me how that go. Go break bread with a neo-Nazi and see how they embrace you. They're not finna embrace you. Some of us have, again, historical amnesia, right? And I'm just saying this out of respect, man. I love my people. I love humanity. But we have an obligation to correct the wrong ourselves, and we should do that, period. We can't keep begging people to do for us what we should do for ourselves. Stop thinking that you're going to get food stamps, and on the food stamp, and that's the biggest seller. You know, how much time I got left? Let's briefly talk about that, because this is just amazing. Food stamps was never structured to be passed down from generation to generation in the black community. Black people have been conditioned to accept poverty, listen, as a normal, and it's okay. Listen to what I'm saying. Black people have been conditioned to accept poverty as it is normal and it's okay. And for those who do get out of poverty, they take upon a bourgeois mentality. I'm not finna help them. They can help themselves. I pulled myself up. Now you pulled yourself up out the bootstrap because somebody sacrificed for you to have the boost to pull yourself up out the bootstraps. But let me say it again. We've been conditioned to accept. You got family members that have been on food stamps from generation. Why haven't that curse been broken yet? That curse can be broken by us taking the adequate time to start teaching children how to read at an early level. You teach them that. You teach them, hey, you might not be able to get the Mike Jordan, but you're going to get this. But my most important thing is teach you how to save money. By the time a black child get in the 4th and 5th grade, at the bare minimum, they should have $300 saved up if they indulge in working. We should take black children, teach them how to work, save half their money. So when they grow up, they'll know how to do that. We can bring ourselves, the Democrat, and I'm saying this, and I'm going to say this unequivocally. The Democratic Party, and I've said this before, and mind you, I'm not speaking for the Republicans, not doing none of that. But they have kind of baked us into looking at them as the party that will save us from benefits. You know, if you get to a point, they're going to cut your food stamp. They're going to cut your Medicare, which is true. But you got to understand, you got more white people that get food stamp than black historically. That's a fact. You know, Ronald Reagan, the one came out with the black mama with the mammy with the. No, Ronald Reagan, you was wrong about that. You got more white people on food stamps than black. So do you really think they're going to kill food stamps and Medicaid? They're not finna do that because they people will be in an uproar. If you get over $2,000 in food stamps, you cannot, they will cut you off the program. You're handicapping people for poverty. If you make a certain amount of money, they tell you we're going to cut your benefits. You're handicapping black people for poverty. If a man is in the house, they cut the woman. I said that last week or 2 weeks ago. That statistically, when they give a 60% of the black woman household is there's no man in. That's not true. Brother, stay home with the mama on food stamp. But you think she gonna go down and tell her worker, oh, well, yeah, you know, my boyfriend stay with me and my baby dad. He gonna say, oh, your baby daddy stay with you? What kind of income? Oh, well, we gonna cut your food stamp. They're not, black people ain't stupid. They're not telling you that. So the statistic is not true, period. We need to reevaluate that. Sometimes, I'm going to say it, and I'm going to say it. Sometimes you got to budget food stamps, period. You can't just go to the party store and say, oh, I feel good. I'm going to go ahead and spend. I just got my $200 cut on, so I'm going to go spend $50 in the party store. They don't care nothing about us. Statistically, they're not investing money in the neighborhood. They get a brother in there who got drug problem. They have to pick up the stuff and they'll look and get a sister in there so they can stand up behind and try to do the freaking league with it. Y'all know it's true. So why would you go spend your $50? Sometimes you got to say, okay, good, listen. Let me go to a discount store. Let me have Chantel take me to the store. I'm going to get a certain amount of money. I'm going to sit on this food, and we're going to have a late. So that's what you do. So now people think if they're giving it to you, save it. You can save Social Security. Save $10 or $20 a month. And then the year you look up, you got a little money saved. The average black person, and I said this, if you are over the age of 40, you should have at least $2,000 saved that you don't have to touch. Period. We done had it. We done blew it. Go buy the latest drink, the latest shoe, the latest Michael Jordan, and then Friday you get paid, Monday morning you broke. You ain't even got money for the car. You trying to push, your car ran out of gas 2 miles from work. You calling somebody. Well, y'all listen, man. You know, real talking to Tula Kabone. I enjoy the show. My time is up. You know what I mean? But my hope is that you got something out of the information I shared. Look forward to being on with you next week. Again, man, defend your people, man. Don't let anybody say anything about us because we are definitely God blessed and God sent. You know, for the stuff we done went through, I can't name no other people can go through what we going through and still be optimistic and about the world that we live in, even though we feel, most of us feel rejected and dejected. But that's a fact. But, you know, God got your back, man. Just keep praying and keep moving. All right, y'all. You know, power to the people, power to the people, power to the people.